You can't hear my kids in the background. They're being loud and stuff.
Nah, you're good now. I think we live. Perfect.
Okay.
All right. Good evening, everyone. How you guys doing?
Yes. Good evening. How's everybody doing? Welcome to another episode of the Wall Street Rundown. My name is Billy, and I have Wale with me. Wale, what's up, man? How was your day
All
today?
right. Go ahead. Floor is yours, my brother.
All right. We live?
Yep.
All right. Hey, welcome everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Wall Street Rundown. We are here to provide you guys some news about the market, do some recap about the market. Again, my name is Billy Clement. I have Wale with me on the line. Wale, what's going on, man? How was your day today?
Man, this week, very light on the trading. Mostly all I figured, I think the only entry I made this week was Tesla, and that's on a leap. So no
Okay.
swings, no day trading, just mostly focusing on long-term positions. And for the most part, so far so good. But I did take one loss on Ion Q, but that was pretty much it for the week for me. What about
I on
yourself?
Q. Have they been moving at all? Like, trying to see.
Ion Q's been kind of on the way down. It's had a
Okay.
rough go. Yeah, so I haven't really I exited my position, even though I took a loss that I didn't need to. I was a little bit impatient. So, but for the most part,
Okay.
you know, everything kind of just folded. But yeah, I think all of the quantum spaces they've been kind of quiet as of lately. So not much going on
Yes.
with the quantum space right now.
I think once the Nvidia CEO says it's going to take about another 20, 30 years, I think that they kind of died down. You know what I mean? He kind of
Yeah.
shut the whole thing down for everyone. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's been kind of quiet for them. So yeah, but let's do a quick market recap, man. So the market closed today. I think we saw some gains today. I mean for this whole week actually, we saw some gains. We see the Nasdaq went up, S&P was up a little bit, QQQ and Aspire, all these were up also a little bit. We also had some good earnings this week. I mean, you talk look at App 11, like App 11 was up like 130 something dollars after the reported. Like, I think that was nuts. You know what I mean? Then you have Robinhood, Upstart also did some good. Shopify also did some good. Applied Material is gonna drop. You know, we also saw some crazy drop. TTD, I think that's another company.
Yeah. TTD
Um,
was down like 30%.
yep, TTD dropped
Yeah.
like crazy. So that's another stock. So we saw some really big movers to the upside and really big movers to the downside. Um, Retail sales, I mean, retail sales kind of came underwhelming, I guess. It didn't really do a lot. Um, we definitely have to keep looking at those economic indicators when it comes to retail sales. Of course, with all the tariff talks and all that stuff, that's also going to impact all the retail sales, at least now.
I also want to put in something with the retail sales too, that credit card debt hit an all-time high, I think of 1.2
Yes,
trillion.
and people are defaulting. That's another thing. People are defaulting right now on that. So that might be something to keep an eye on, you know?
Yeah,
So
I have been watching the consumer debt continue to, I think we talked about this maybe like almost 12 months ago,
yeah,
where
months ago. Yep.
we've been seeing the consumer debt level starting to move higher and higher and higher.
Mhm.
And what I think that's attributed to is that people are starting to have to charge money on their credit card for necessities like
Right.
food and gas. And, I still think also too, when you have certain holidays like Christmas and Thanksgiving and Valentine's Day, I feel people are not, regardless of what their pockets look like, people are going to be like, I'm going to find a way to put to spend. And
Right.
rather than saying, you know what, I ain't got it, I'm gonna just have to eat this L. It looks like people are going to spend that money regardless. So
Yep. Yep. And they're throwing it on
with
the credit cards.
with GDP being, you know, 66% of GDP is consumer spending. And
Mhm.
if that continues to start to slow down, that's something that we need to keep an eye on. And that's another reason why we talked about this months ago. We said probably want to avoid the B2C companies.
Yes. Yes. And
Yeah,
for
probably.
anybody who might be confused, B2C basically means businesses that do goods toward the consumers. So whether it to be goods or services that are doing toward the consumers, that's why they call them B2C, right? And the reason why we say kind of be cautious for businesses to do B2C is because as consumer spending goes down, they're only going to start spending money on necessities, right? They don't have any more money to spend on like, the things they want. You're only going to buy things that you need. So companies that make, I mean, perfect example, look at Target, right? Target dropped out of nowhere because the sales were horrible, right? Because Target not only selling, they don't sell groceries, right? They have like, I mean, they have like the super Target or whatever. They sell groceries and stuff in there. But what they've realized when they did their sale is people only come in to buy the necessity things. They're not shopping for electronics. They're not shopping for the home goods and all these different things that other stuff that Target has. So there's a lot of decline in that part of their sales, but they see increase on on like things that people need for the house, basically, that they can't live without. So yeah, so that's what the B2C is, basically, like businesses that create products to the consumers.
And when you look at retail spending, I put retail spending into two categories. So um, companies like Walmart that cater to essential goods,
Yes.
they've been able to do a little bit of a better job than
Yep.
your Targets of the worlds. Companies that cater towards consumer discretionary. So look at Lululemon today. Lululemon got absolutely smacked today.
Got devoured. Yep.
They're a high price retailer that tends to cater towards people's wants, not needs. So they
Right.
got hit hard today. One sector that I would keep an eye on if this becomes a pattern is the airlines, the cruise lines, and those types of
Mm,
businesses to see if they also start to take a hit because they've been on a run as of lately. If you look at some of the airlines
right.
and some of the cruise names have hit all time, maybe not all time highs, but they've hit
Yeah,
highs as
CCL
of
CCL
recently.
did really good. Like they ran like crazy.
Yeah, so CCL has been doing pretty good. I think RCL is another one that's been doing pretty good. If consumer spending starts to slow down, I wonder if all of that momentum behind those names starts to slow down as well. So that's something to
Right.
definitely keep an eye on.
Right, right. And what is the, I guess, I'm glad you mentioned that. What is the impact of like the oil and all that stuff also on those companies like the airlines, the cruises and all those different things?
Yeah, so typically what they typically do, they usually try to hedge their costs when it comes to the fuel. So if they're
Okay.
doing a good job, they may not get hit as hard. But I just bought gas 2 days ago and I saw that the prices had actually gone up pretty significantly. If fuel continues to go higher, that's going to eat into their margins. But
Yep.
most of those companies tend to try to hedge those costs as much as they can so that they don't have to, so it doesn't eat into their margins.
Right.
So we'll see how that plays out. But I'm really curious to see if this consumer spending slowdown starts to trickle over into that sector of the market.
Yep. I mean, again, the oil prices, like you said, it went up today. It went up, I think, this whole week. I think it's kind of the price kind of rose amid like all the demands that's coming up. Also, the tariffs, have some type of um impact on that. Gold is going up. I
Yeah, a
mean, I
lot
think
of
gold is going up since last year, you know.
yeah, a lot of the defensive commodities have been moving higher.
Right.
Gold, silver. Um, I mean, I looked at silver. I think SLV is up 20% year to date, if I'm not
Mm-hmm.
mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
So there's definitely some inflation scares. We're starting to see it trickle down to the consumer and also to the producer because PPI and CPI came in a little bit hot.
Right.
So the question I have is if the tariffs start to impact the inflation data, does that push us over the top? Does it
Mm.
does that push us over the top and get to a point where the Fed feels that they need to start to intervene? Another thing to also keep in mind too is I think we talked about this on the last discussion is keeping an eye on the layoffs and seeing if that starts to translate
Yep.
into the jobs numbers.
Right.
So, federal, you've got, Chevron laying people off. I think Meta's laying people off. There might be a couple other
Mm-hmm.
companies that have some layoffs in the pipeline as well. So
Yep.
Again, the Fed has two mandates: stable prices, so keeping inflation fairly stable, and then full employment. So full employment is somewhere near 4%. We start trickling above that number, we'll have to see if the Fed has to intervene and start talking about cutting rates. But right now, they're saying that they're not in a rush to do anything. But if we start to get bad economic data, slow down in growth, slow down in consumer spending, and it starts
Right.
to have a ripple effect, then I think they're going to have to do something about that.
Right. Even like the whole layoff of the federal, employees and all this stuff. I mean, um, it's been done in a way where it's like it's just disrupting like a lot of people's workflows. Like, like some people are getting locked out of the office, can't go do their job and all these different things. So it seems like there's now good order on it. So
Hmm.
again, the sentiment on that are also going to be bad, right? For employees in the federal government, they'd be like, hey, we probably don't want to be here anymore because a lot of people, because you think about it, a lot of people used to love the government job because it's stable. You can be there for
Yeah.
years. You move between different agencies. Everybody knows everybody. So you kind of like stay in that industry for a long time. So I
Hmm.
wonder how this is gonna cause. What's this gonna cause? Like, when it comes to like federal employees and all these different things. So again, it's we are gonna see the impact of all this, and we talked about this. We are gonna see a lot of impact of this when it comes time to like the Q1 reporting, right? Let's look one in March when companies start reporting Q1 data and all these different things, and let's see what's the impact of all these layoffs, tariff talks, all of these massive, another big thing also they do is like the DEI. So let's see what's that gonna have impact on those companies. We don't know. So all of those
Yeah.
things factor in somehow into the market, into the stock market. So depending on what company you're looking for, you just got to keep an eye on that one.
Yeah, like I said before, I think that this first quarter is going to be a wait and see
Yeah.
feeler type of quarter. And I actually think the Fed is taking that same stance. Like
Oh yeah.
we're not going to overreact over just one data point. We're going to
Right.
take a wait and see approach and see if we're starting to see a trend. So, you know, we've kind of gotten a lot of the earnings from Q4 of last year. Once we start getting towards like March, April, and we start getting Q1 data from this year, to me, that will sort of set the stage of what we can sort of expect going into the end of 2025.
Yep. 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 Which is gonna be interesting. I mean, I think all eyes is definitely gonna be on that first quarter reporting to see how things goes. Um,
Yeah,
I don't know if you've seen this. Months ago, you traded Airbnb. Did you see Airbnb today?
I saw it.
I was shocked at the fact that he went up that high. The reason being, who's still, I mean, in the midst of all this crazy economic stuff, people still spending money at Airbnb. Like their sales was good. Like, so does that mean people still spending money, in Airbnb and all this luxury stuff? So, oh,
I did not get a chance um to listen to the earnings call or kind of read their report. But if you look at the stock, if we're being 100% honest, the stock really hasn't gone anywhere in the last 3 months. I mean, if you look
nope,
at it from November till now, it is only traded between, call it 125 and 140. That's it. Aside from that, it has not done anything
hasn't done
significant.
anything. Right.
Yeah, it hasn't done anything significant. And if I go back, the last time it hit this level or we were in this range was back in May of 2023. So
Mm-hmm.
it's been on a downtrend. So I would not be surprised if maybe shorts had to cover and get out of the trade. That's why it spiked. But
Right.
this stock has done absolutely nothing in a very 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 long time. So maybe there was just short covering that might have drove the stock higher.
Yeah. So I was kind of shocked to see them like moving that high. It's like, whoa, what just happened here? But
Another name that made a big move, um, and these also go into the consumer discretionary side. So DraftKings and Wynn Resorts
yep,
were up double digits today.
yep.
So the consumer spending is slowing down, but we're seeing certain companies in certain areas still producing numbers that are fairly decent. So
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think DraftKings would move this much. I didn't think Wynn Resorts would move this much. And I want to say who reported before Wynn Resorts recently? I want
MGM.
to MGM. Yep, I think they also had a spike in
Right.
after they had a spike when they reported as well. So I don't know. That's I mean, what it tells me is the consumer is probably still spending, but a lot of it is going towards credit. A lot of it is going
That's, I
towards
mean, if
credit.
you think about it, DraftKings, gambling, sport betting and all these different things.
Hmm.
MGM and he's in Las Vegas. You know what I mean? So again, gambling and all this stuff. So it's like I think people are putting stuff on credit or uh taking, I don't know, maybe taking loans to pay off for some of these stuff. I don't know. It's definitely um it's a telltale of what's to come, basically. So we shall see how this is gonna impact us going forward.
Someone
Um
just sent someone just sent me a text message that says you can get a line of credit based on the equity of your car.
that is nuts. That's
What?
almost, it sounds like one of those predatory loan stuff. You know what I mean? Where you
Uh,
can go take your title somewhere and they'll give you money based on that. And if you don't pay it back, they're coming for your car.
it says credit limits of $10,000 max, and it says it's equity line um, backed by the value of your car. So
Yeah.
tapping a line of credit into a depreciating asset, to me, I'm pretty sure it probably just works the way margin works in stocks, where like,
Yep.
if you have a margin loan on a stock and the stock value drops below a certain point,
You
if you
sue them.
don't add certain amount of money to the account, they're gonna just sell what you have
Yep.
and you get a margin call. So
Yep.
I'm assuming that's the same principle. If your equity drops below a certain amount and you can't add money to it, I was just gonna come swoop your car up.
And that's predatory loaning. You know what I mean? It's like you absolutely right. Because by the time you can pay off that car, and they might say, hey, your car is not worth the same amount as when we give you the loan. So technically you owe us even more, and we're gonna take your car.
That's a wild concept. That's a wild concept.
Hey, but when people are desperate, they do desperate things,
That's very true.
you
That is
know.
very true.
So I think people are gonna, if you're really desperate, you're gonna take advantage of that, and you're gonna say, hey, it's gonna relieve a temporary pain, but long term, bruh, stuff like that, it's gonna cost you a lot more.
Yeah, you got to do your due diligence on that. You got to do your due diligence on that for
Yep.
sure.
Yep. You almost gotta take your emotions out of it too. Because like, hey, I can, you mean to tell me I can give you this piece of paper and you give me 10K, and if I don't pay, maybe you will come back for my car? All right, take it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Another thing I also want to point out is that we saw SPY make an all-time high again today. But
Yes.
the only issue with that high is we ran into that same zone where we
I
got
was
a
gonna tell I was
rejection.
gonna I was gonna tell you that.
So I was gonna say take that with a grain of salt. I'm not saying that
Yep.
the market's gonna come right back down, but you can still tell that near that 610, 611 area that there's still a lot of
It's a
selling
lot of
pressure.
selling.
So it would not surprise me if we see some sort of pullback going into because if you look at today, you look at the volume was low compared to yesterday and compared to the day before that. So it would not surprise me if we see a pullback because it looks like the sellers are still trying to hold that 610
Yep.
level and push the SPY down. But
Yep.
today's move in the market, most of the heavy lifting was done by um, technology for sure.
Right. So the biggest movers for today was XLC communication.
Yep.
SLC moved a little bit. Energy was up a little bit. Financial was up a little bit. Healthcare is down today. After the run they had a good run yesterday. I think with this I think this whole week they had a good run.
Yeah.
And then technology is up.
Yeah. Healthcare has been one of the better performers this year
Yep.
in comparison to other parts of the market. So I am I am not sold yet that value will catch up to growth this year, but value is off to a better start than I expected this year. I think that the energy sector is probably one of the biggest drags on value, but when you look at
Yep.
financials and healthcare have been holding it down for that sector so far this year. So
Yep. And I don't know, speaking of SPY, I don't know if you pay attention to how RSP closed today. You know what I mean? So RSP closed down today. So usually that SPY usually follows afterwards. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just be mindful of this. RSP is a great hack, y'all. If you guys don't use RSP, please. It's a great hack if you really want to see the trajectory of the market.
Yeah, and if you look at RSP, RSP is just trading inside on the month so far in February.
Yep.
So we've just been consolidating, not a lot of movement when you
Nope.
look at RSP going back to January 21st. We've just been kind of trading sideways.
Yeah, we're just stuck in the middle here.
Yeah, so yeah, when you see a divergence between RSP and SPY, let's say SPY is moving higher and RSP is not going anywhere, what that tells you is that whatever is leading the market is dominated by technology. That's
Yep.
pretty much what it tells you. When RSP and SPY are kind of moving in the same direction and together, that's a very more broader move in the market that says, okay, multiple sectors are starting to participate in the upside.
Yep.
But yeah, you can see today SPY was down, RSP was down, but QQQ
Mhm.
was up, and most of that I think was from Nvidia because Nvidia had a really good second half of the trading day today.
Yeah. Speaking of Nvidia, I saw some interesting news on them. I wanted to get a feedback on this. So it
Hmm.
says Nvidia revealed that they sold its stakes in the NanoX, the imaging company. They
Mm.
sold their stakes in Serve Robotics, Sound AI. Sound AI, if you guys go back to like December of last year or November of last year, Sound AI was moving. I made some big cool money on that shit. Also, they trimmed their position on ARM, which is crazy because ARM just did a deal with Meta. So it's like yesterday the spiked up when that news so Meta came off, and now today they kind of got a little slap. What are your thoughts on those type of moves, especially like, I mean, I had no idea Nvidia was actually investing in other companies outside of it, outside of their own company. So that's
So
interesting to me.
so what's actually interesting is a lot of these big tech companies have divisions where they invest. Um,
Mm,
Sometimes they invest in public companies, sometimes they invest in private companies. So if you look at one that I'm familiar with is American Express has a venture capital arm where they take capital from, their business and invest in other companies.
yeah,
Amazon does the same thing. So a lot of these big tech companies, they've got money sometimes tied into, competitors. Um,
that's
when
crazy.
I think before Rivian went public, I think GM or Ford had a big stake in them before they went public.
Mm.
So a lot of these companies that are publicly traded have a division of their business where they take some of their capital and invest in other companies and buy shares and things like that. And I think there are certain laws that don't allow them to have controlling shares in those companies. Where
Okay. So they
yeah,
have to
but they
trim it from now time to time to make sure they stay within. Okay,
I
I
think they
see.
have to stay within certain limits to where they don't have control limits of shares in the company. So I don't know if that might have warranted the sale
The
in
sale.
arm or maybe it's just um, what do you call it? Risk management, saying, okay, we just got to dial back a little bit. But yeah, Nvidia has got their money in other companies that are in that space. So
That's nuts, man.
that's actually not it's actually very, very common. Actually very
Wow.
common.
You know,
Yeah.
you know, when I the thing that surprised me was colleges actually do that. Big universities, they have a whole
Oh,
endowment and they have an investor or somebody who actually manages that endowment to invest in other companies. I had no idea.
I know a lot of people in that space. I
That's
know a lot
crazy.
of people in that space. Yeah.
That's
So
crazy. Like that's crazy how like they're able to do that. You know what I mean? So,
so basically endowments, the way they work the same way, almost the same way as pensions,
mm,
where they have an investment policy statement that says this is our spending policy for the year. And we have an investment policy that says this is how we're going to allocate the funds. And we need to be able to meet certain cash flow needs for our endowment
yeah,
because they can't just hoard all the money. They have to distribute money to certain causes and things like that. But a lot of advisors advise endowments and help them position assets so that they can, you know, have opportunities to take some of those gains and invest those into other causes. Yeah, that's
Um,
actually pretty common. Actually pretty common. So they
that's
you can basically call an endowment like a huge pension fund that doesn't ever like run out of money. That's basically how it
yeah,
works.
yeah. And I guess for me, when I found that out, I was like, okay, so what does that mean for the students to go there, right? It's like, I don't know, maybe that's gonna come down the road where somebody might challenge them on this. It's like you're actually taking tuition money, basically,
Hmm.
right? Part of that tuition money is going toward the endowment. Or you getting donations from your like, alumni, or somebody might like be passing away or dedicate for a portion of their fortune to go toward their college endowment and all this stuff. Where does
Hmm.
that leave the students? Because technically they are part of the university. So do they get a cut out of that? Like, I don't
No, they
know.
don't.
Unless if
They
there's
don't.
like some type of like clause that say like, yeah, you're just a student here. You're a customer, basically.
Yeah, you can't, as a student, you're not entitled to those assets because a lot of those endowments use those money to fund scholarships.
Okay.
So,
I see.
like when I was in high school, I went to a private high school. We have an endowment. People donate and they collect money every year. It's invested somehow. A lot
Yeah.
of some of the money, part of an endowment's expenses every year goes towards scholarships. So that's how students benefit from the endowment. Yeah. So, but
That's
they're not,
crazy.
yeah, they're not entitled to get part of the money because that's just not how it works. Yeah, the endowment is like it's basically like a trust fund. That's what it
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
It's like a
That's
trust
how I
fund.
think about it. I was reading this book. I forgot what the book is called, but I was reading this book. And they have this one lady. I think she's out of New York. She manages the endowment for, I don't know if it's like New York University or something like that. But
Hmm.
the amount they invest that like they're managing, it's crazy. Like it's not a
Oh
few
yeah,
$1 million. Like it's a
no,
lot of
no.
money.
Some of these endowments are in the B's, like in the B's. Like I'm talking about 10, 50, 60, 70, 80 million, I mean billion-dollar endowments. So
It's a
yeah.
lot of money, man.
Endowments, as an advisor who's been in the institutional space, endowments is another, if you're an advisor to manage money, that's another good space to be in because they have long-term investment goals. Like an endowment is not investing money for the next, like, 1 to 2 years. They're investing money for the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years. So
Right,
their investment strategies are pretty tilted towards like equities and stuff, and they have long term, and they don't make emotional decisions. So it's a good, if you're an advisor and you can get into that space, it's a really good space to be in because again, they work like pension plans.
right. But I think also they also have certain rules, right? Where they are like there's some stock they're not supposed to invest in. I think what I was reading about is there are some colleges or universities that only invest um in stocks that doesn't have, like, for example, they will never buy a share in like an alcohol company or a
Mm.
cigarette company or a company that's like Lockheed Martin that make weapons and stuff. They will never invest in those companies. So they look for like, I forgot what the term is. I think they look for like environmental conscious companies or something like that. So
ESG,
yeah, there you go.
yeah.
So they'll
Environmental
they'll have kind
social.
of like their own rules where they have like certain things that you can invest in. The book that I think is How to Invest. Maybe that's not it, but it is a
Yeah.
really good book that they did a lot of like this guy basically did like a lot of interview with like um so many different like wealthy people who've been in investment companies. There's actually a Nigerian guy in there. I forgot his name, but my boy is smart. He went to like cement and all that stuff, and yeah, he's a billionaire. Crazy.
Yeah, so the way endowments work when it comes to the social, environmental, social, and I think governance part of their investments. Every endowment has what's called an investment policy statement, and the board of
Hmm.
directors are the ones that adopt that document, and that document will govern what they can invest in. When I used to work in the public space for like cities and counties and stuff, there
Hmm.
were some cities and counties that had those mandates where they said, "Hey, we don't want to invest in like fossil fuels, or we don't want to invest in um, what do you call it? Guns, or we don't want to invest in these things.
Yep.
So for those types of people, what you have to do is sometimes you can't just buy like a mutual fund, because then you have to look at the mutual fund or the ETF and see, do those companies exist? And if they do,
Yes.
what you have to do then is you have to start building individual positions.
Okay.
So
Okay.
some endowments have those mandates, not all of them. But once you get to a certain size, once you get to above $1 billion, you can pretty much start to customize a
Yep.
lot of the portfolio and just buy individual positions rather than just buying a fund. So I'm looking at the biggest endowments. Harvard has the biggest, 50 billion.
50,
University of
hold on,
Texas,
hold on, hold on. Harvard has $50 billion. That is nuts.
50 billion.
Wow.
Princeton is 34.1 billion. Stanford is 36.5 billion. Yale is 40.7 billion. And out of the top 10, the smallest one on this list is 13.3 billion. So
That is
we're not talking about small money. No, we're talking about big money. And a lot of these names, Harvard, University of Texas, Stanford, MIT, University of Pennsylvania, Texas A&M, I'm pretty sure a lot of alumni who've been
yeah.
successful
Yeah.
business people,
Yeah.
they get a lot of money thrown at them. So yeah, we're not talking about small money, man. We are talking about huge amounts of money.
That's
And
ridiculous,
like
man.
I said, they're pretty much run like pension plans. Yeah.
That's crazy. And I know a lot of like wealthy people, a lot of wealthy companies, you know, to offset taxes, they will just act like they're donating money, right? Because you can
Yep.
write those off. So now you can see what some of those schools have a lot of money because are they giving it because of no? They're like, hey, I'm gonna get a tax write up for this. So yeah, here's $100 million. Let me write this stuff off. You know what I mean? So,
Correct. Yeah.
but that's nuts, man. Because I think if you own like a small family investing office, right? Because they call it like a family investing, whatever.
Yeah.
What
Family
is the
office. Yep.
capital? Like 100 million or something like that?
I think it depends on the family. It depends on the family. There's a lot in the Bay Area out here.
Yeah. That's another thing people don't know is like literally you as a family collectively can put your money together and operate as an investing company. Right. At first,
Yep.
there's rules and regulations around it, how much money you guys can have, and all these different things. But literally, you can create a small family, in I guess endowment, if you want to call it,
Yep.
and be investing in a company in different companies and stuff. So
Yep. Yep. Yes, it's
that's crazy.
very common in the Bay Area where you have like these multi-billion dollar folks and they just have a team of people that they've hired to manage all the family wealth.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
So,
nuts, man. That's a whole different level of wealth right
oh
there.
yeah.
I make too much money. I need somebody else to manage it for me and make more money for it. That's nuts,
Yeah,
Man.
you base as a family, you're basically have your own like investment firm. That's basically what it
Yep.
is.
Yep. And everybody makes money in the family. You keep it in the family. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah,
And
it
you
stays in
operate
the
as a company, so I mean, tax write off, all the different things. Like you get to do all the normal stuff that people. But man, that's a good topic, man. I wish more people know about like those things. But like I said, there's the book that I think it's called How to Invest, but it's like it's a bunch of interviews with like different like hedge funds. Like you talking about Ray Dalio, you're talking about like all these big investors from back in the day. And I didn't know like back in the day, if you wanted to start an investing company, it wasn't hard. There was no rules on it. You can literally open up a shop and say, I'm open for investing. That's why a lot of those pioneers and that we call in the stock market, that's how they made their money in the beginning, right? They didn't make money out of their pocket. They literally open their office and say, I can invest for you all. And people come in,
and
bring their money, and guess what? They take a cut out of that. And as long as they're making money, the next thing you know, more and more people like they didn't start with their own money. Like they use other people's money. But now it's so hard to start an investment company. Like
yeah,
there's so
very
many
hard
regulations.
because I looked into it.
I did too, man. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, lots of compliance hoops. You got to be
Yep.
registered and all that stuff. So it's a lot to hoop. But the thing though, I will say this as well. Because the barrier of entry to invest now is so much lower, you're finding more people and access to information is much easier.
Right.
You're finding more people who are going the self-directed route, who want to do it
Know
themselves.
himself. Okay.
More and more people are starting. Back in the day, access to information wasn't as robust as it is now.
Yep.
So, even when I was an advisor, when I first got licensed back in 2009, people always thought that investing was for like rich people. Like, oh, I don't have enough.
Mm.
We didn't have partial shares. We
Right.
always
Right.
ETFs were not that common. The only way you can invest mostly was if you had enough money to buy a whole share of a company, or if you invested in a mutual fund where you had to set up like automatic investments into that mutual fund every single month. And I think the
Yep.
barrier of entry was like $100. Sometimes it would be a little bit lower than that. But if you didn't have like a couple $1,000s to invest initially,
Yeah.
couldn't
It didn't
do it.
make
But
sense.
now,
It didn't make sense. It didn't make
yeah, but
sense. Yeah.
but now it's so much easier. You can buy partial shares, you can buy ETFs, like, and you can get access to information about the market so easily. A lot more people are starting to do it themselves, and that's why you see the growth of retail investing. I mean, look at Robinhood's numbers. I mean,
Yep.
from their last
Yep.
earnings report.
Yep.
So a lot more people are starting to do it themselves now. Yeah.
But that's the thing too. It's like, so instead of people opening up like investment offices now, I think they're going the route of let's open up a brokerage like Robinhood. I mean, you still have to
Yep.
deal with regulations and all this stuff, but you get to invest other people's money and you get to take a fee on top of that, right? So I think that's probably going to be the route like a lot of people are going to be doing right now because we after 2008, I feel like we just had this crazy outburst of all different brokerages now being able to like offer like a self-directed investment and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So
So many companies offer self-directed now, and there's so
yep,
many avenues that you can do it through with, and the fees have come down
yep,
tremendously.
yep,
So, I find more and more people going that route. Now, if you get to a couple million and you don't have the time, then that becomes a different story where you say,
yep,
okay, I don't have the time to pay attention to all of this wealth that I have now. I need someone else to manage it.
yep,
Then that's when you start looking for an advisor. But for most people who are still under that threshold and they enjoy doing it, I think
yep,
self-directed is the route that a lot of people are going right now.
yeah. The other thing that I was going to talk about is Nvidia actually start buying, and I know we talked a little bit about this. They bought a shares in WeRide. I guess it's a Chinese company that's investing in self-driving.
Hmm.
So I'm seeing more and more this popping up now. Like I think a lot of people now start to pay attention to it. And we were all wondering also with Uber, like why is Uber moving this high, this fast? What's happening? Who knows what? You know what I mean? If you guys look at Uber chart, it's been ridiculous for the past few days.
And that was after that huge drop after earnings.
Right.
Got it all back.
And some more. So again, is that becoming a reality now? Like, is that something that's going to be even more reality, especially with the advancing AI now? Advancing all of those different technologies that might be actually needed to have those self-driving taxis and all the different things. Uber, in my opinion, probably going to be one of the biggest winners because they already have the network, they already have the infrastructure set up, they already have the customers,
Mm-hmm.
right? So between them and Lyft, they're probably going to be one of the two companies that either going to get bought up or snatch up real quick. Because honestly, let's think about it. Outside of Uber, outside of Lyft, what other rideshare companies out there?
I think the other ones like Waymo, they're not public.
Right.
They're not publicly traded. So Waymo's another one. I think there's another one that I cannot think of. But Waymo, I think is the one, at least in the Bay Area, that gets a lot of the. I think Cruise is another one.
Cruise. Yep.
Cruise is another one. Yeah. So those are not publicly traded companies.
Right.
So and I think Cruise is owned by one of the big. I think either Ford or GM has a big stake in Cruise,
Mm,
if I'm not mistaken. So self-driving, I think in the next 5 years it's going to become more common,
yep.
especially for I think what they're trying to target is like those short trips that people
Yep.
that like drivers don't like making. So in your New Yorks or your San Franciscos or your Las Vegas, driving on the strip, like no one wants to pick up somebody from MGM Grand and then drive them to like, the Bally's Resort. Like that's a
Yeah.
short
Yeah.
ride on the
Yeah.
strip. It's like, okay, if we can find a self-driving car to do it, then
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm really curious to see what type of regulation comes out of that whole process because that's the area where I think it's going to be hard. And if you, especially in states like California that are
Mm,
highly regulated, I know Waymo is operating in California, but
yeah.
I
But
don't
Waymo
know.
doesn't go on highway though. I don't think so. Right?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
and I don't know if we're going to get there anytime soon.
I honestly I think we will. The reason I'm saying that is because, and I think again, I hate to say this, but it's like I think Tesla is actually going to be on the front of that because you see Tesla cars on the highway with no driver going 70, 80 miles an hour, ain't braking, ain't changing lanes, all. I mean, there's accidents here and there, but it's like it's pretty low when it comes to low number of accidents that's happening. Um, so I think they're actually gonna come on top on this one too. I mean, I know Elon was talking about it and all this stuff, but I think they have the technology for it to be able to do for that. I think Waymo, the only thing they have right now is they don't have their vehicle go on the highway. So if you want to go to the airport, guess what? It might take you 2 hours instead of 30 minutes on a highway somewhere. So I don't know. I think I think it's a thing. Like I really think it's gonna happen. 5 years? I don't know if it's gonna take 5 years. I think I might have to disagree with you on that one. It might take a little shorter than
Yeah, I'm not hopping in no self-driving car anytime
that.
soon.
You're not doing it.
Nah, nah, I'm good.
That would
You
look
tell
weird
me,
though, man.
yeah, you tell me you got a self-driving car pick me up, I'm canceling that ride.
But we are moving toward that though, bro. Like I'm telling you, we are moving toward that. It's gonna look weird for a beginning, but after that, it's like it's just become normal. Like you just
I
a ghost
I
car
remember
driving around.
I remember saying the same thing about BlackBerry. I was like, I'm gonna never buy a phone that doesn't have a keyboard. Well, here I am.
Yo, that's another
But
company that fumbled the bag, like big time. You know what I mean? Like I don't know, man. Maybe we're dating ourselves here. If you guys don't know BlackBerry, BlackBerry used to be like the company. If you were a business person, that was the phone that you wanted with the keyboard. Like it just looks slick. I mean, they don't look as good right now looking back. Like I don't know why we liked it so much. But it did a lot of stuff.
speaking speaking of BlackBerry, go look at BlackBerry stock for the last 3 months.
BB, what is BB doing?
Look at
Don't tell me
BlackBerry
they're
stock.
moving.
Go look
Oh
at
my God. What the hell happened?
somehow,
Interesting.
some way, they're still alive. And I think what they've done from hardware to software, because from what I hear, their software security system for phones is really, really good. And I think they pivoted to that more than hardware. I don't know if they make phones anymore, to be honest with you. I haven't seen a
Man.
BlackBerry phone in years. So I
Oh,
don't think that,
okay, so you said they made the leap from instead of because I know they were doing like the hardware and the software at the same time.
yeah, because I think they were the vendor of choice for government phones
Yes,
because of their
yes,
security,
yes.
like the encryption that they had on their security in their phones. And I think they pivoted. I don't know if they scrapped all their hardware phones, but I think they pivoted more towards software rather than hardware, if I'm not
Yep,
mistaken.
yep.
So,
That's crazy, man. You frozen by the way. So, oh, there you go. You
oh,
just came back. No, you back,
okay.
man. But yeah, that's crazy, man. It's like, man, because I think they were like $1 at some point. They were even considered like a meme stock at some point.
Yep.
God, damn, they've been slowly just creeping up on the low here. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
But yeah, they've
It,
fallen from they've fallen from grace though, because in 2021 they were a $28 stock.
yep. I mean, even before that, bro, like if you look at BlackBerry back in what is this? Oh, eight, they were $148 stock.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't
Oh
that
yeah.
crazy?
Yeah.
That is
So
nuts.
I'm actually surprised that they're still in business. I'm actually surprised because that was,
They're still hanging on.
yeah, they hanging
Speak,
on by.
Speaking of still in business, our bad boy Intel finally made a really good move this week. And my position was up, man, until today. It went back down again because they just dropped again. But I mean, Intel. like you say, the government would not let it die. It's still out here doing this thing. So
And I think if I'm not mistaken, the move that it's made is at 2360 now. It's made a good move. What I'm waiting for is how is this CEO search going? I need news.
yes,
I
need
need to
that
hear something
catalyst.
about this CEO search ASAP.
Yep,
So I'm hearing good news or good rumors from Intel. I think they said something about some of the chips that they're working on right now are one of the top performing chips.
yep.
Intel's execution is where they fell apart. So hopefully they can get it right with new leadership. So
Mm-hmm.
I am a believer in Intel, but this is a story that's going to take.
It's gonna take some time.
I said at least 5 years. It's going to take at least 5 years.
It's
So
definitely gonna take. It's gonna take some time.
I
But
am I'm
I'm
going to
I'm trying to
wait
I'm
this
trying
one
to
out.
close my position as soon as they announce that CEO because I know that's gonna pop the stock. I can close my option position and just buy all shares and just chill from there. Luckily, like my position don't expire till like January 2026, so I still got time on it. But at the same time, I was like, God dang, just announce the CEO, who the CEO is gonna be, or announce whatever merger, whatever sale you guys are about to do, because we know it's happening, it's gonna come. Who's buying who? Or splitting the divisions, what you guys doing with the divisions and
Correct.
stuff.
Yeah.
Just announce that
Yeah.
crap, man, so we can see the stock go up and we can make money and be out.
Another stock that has made a silent comeback and is now approaching $200 is Boeing.
Oh my God. See,
So
those are the two that we talked about. This is crazy. We talked about Boeing. Boeing was still at 130, I forgot.
130. It was 130. It was in
Yeah.
the 130s when we talked about it. Now we're pushing 187, almost 190.
Yep. And this stock has gotten some bad news after bad news after bad news after bad news, from planes falling and things going awry and strikes and union stuff and contracts. But through all of that, they just kept chugging along. Look at that. That's nuts, man.
Yeah. And I keep telling people one of the reasons why is because if you want a commercial plane, you only got two options.
You have to go to Boeing. You gotta
You
go to
only got
Boeing or
you
whatever
got
the other one, the
or Air,
European
Air
one.
Airbus. Yep, that's it.
Yeah. That's the only two
So
options you have.
as the only US manufacturer of planes, it's even despite all of the nastiness and all of the bad headline news they've had as of recently, the last 1, 2, 3, 4 months haven't been too bad for the stock. So I
Mm-hmm.
missed out on it completely. I know I talked about it. I had
Bro,
my
we
eye
talked
on it
about it, man.
and I
Man,
did not make a move. I was too busy looking at AMD. AMD still,
still getting smacked. The
yeah,
good thing I saw today is the CEO actually bought like 500,000 shares or something like that. So
okay.
I think there's something brewing there too. So we'll see.
Yeah, AMD hit a low of 106 this month.
Yep. After
And
after they reported, they just dropped.
yeah, so we'll see if they can come back. But AMD and Intel are two companies, in my opinion, that have good businesses but need to figure out the execution part. And
Yep.
if they can figure out the execution part, I think that that could be good long-term investments. So I've
Facts.
I've got AMD on my radar. My biggest thing that I have not heard from them on their earnings call, the last two earnings call is where is your growth going to come from? I don't know.
Mm,
I haven't heard anything about where your growth is going to come from. So, and we're talking
mm,
about a stock that at one point was well above $200.
yep. Yep.
So
It's just stuck.
something,
It's just stuck right now. It's not doing
yeah,
anything.
it's because again, investors are just not impressed with what they've heard on the earnings calls. So I don't know.
That's
We'll
true.
see. We'll see what happens.
All right. So finally, I saw a post by Tim Cook. I want to get your input on this. It says, "Welcome to the family. New additions come to the family. What are your thoughts on what exactly they're about to announce? It looks like Apple is working on something. They haven't really
Mm.
said what it is. A lot of people are speculating out there. Like, what do you think they're working on?
Uh, to be honest, I don't know. I saw that you posted it, and I'm trying to think what would Apple be investing in, and my question is, Apple is trying to make an AI play.
Mm.
So who is it? Maybe it's AMD. Maybe AMD is going to be making their chips. I don't know.
No, I don't know.
I
Because
don't
they,
know.
they, they
When's
stopped they stopped producing their M1, right?
so Apple makes their own chips now
Right.
because Intel lost that business. But I don't know. When is the announcement coming?
He didn't say. He just said it's coming soon. You know what I mean? I
Oh,
ha-
no
I have my
date.
I have my speculation. I like it better not be a phone, first of all. It better not because I don't want to hear it. Like they have been dropping the ball on the phone. I don't want to see no more don't put no more cameras on the phone. Don't do that. You know what I
To
mean?
me, it has to be something AI related. It has to
Yep.
be something AI related.
Yep. I'm thinking
What?
I'm thinking two things. Two things that's gonna make Apple stock
So
go crazy.
I've got another thought, but I want you to go ahead and
Two
give me your
things. I'm
thoughts too.
thinking either gonna say the car is coming back.
Hmm.
That's gonna be a crazy announcement. They say the car is coming back, right? Because they canceled the whole thing. Or they're gonna make their own robot like Tesla did,
Hmm.
like a humanoid. You know what I mean? Those are the only two things that I was like, at this point, they gotta go that big if they really want to like impress like the shareholders and stuff. That's the only two things I can think about. I don't know what exactly gonna be, but it
So
can't be another phone.
here is my conspiracy theory.
Mm,
Apple has wanted to get into healthcare or in the health
okay,
space, right?
okay.
TEM is an AI healthcare company.
Oh, I see where you're going. Maybe that's why Tim is moving. Somebody knows
Maybe,
something. Because Tim
maybe
is up like to what? Not, he like $90 today.
Tim is up over 100% this year.
Yeah, it hit $91 today. It's back to 89, but it's like, you know
Hey,
what? That might not.
we've been in yeah, we've been in Tim since January 27th.
It was like
So
$50, I
it
think, or
has
something like
it has been one hell of a ride. But I don't know. Tim is a AI healthcare company.
that. Mm.
Could Apple be announcing some sort of partnership or some sort of venture with them?
No, man, that would be very, very
But
interesting.
to me, it has to be something AI related. It has
Right,
to be
right.
AI related. So I'm either thinking they partner in with AMD to make chips or do something in the AI space, or maybe they're messing with a AI healthcare company like Tim. That's my speculation.
Yeah, that wouldn't be far fetched. I like that take. I like that take. And
Well,
if that's gonna be the take, it's
we'll revisit this when the announcement actually
when
comes
they
out.
announce it, yeah. Because yeah, that's I like it can't be another phone. Please don't bring another phone. I don't want to see another phone. I don't want to see another home devices and all these different things. Just go all out and give us something that's gonna be like, you know, earth changing. Like just change it.
Yeah,
So
because they flopped on that Vision Pro for sure. Because
yeah.
that's another venture they went on that hasn't really been doing that good.
No, they haven't done any good at all. I mean, they invested a lot of money in that one, but it was very, very short lived.
Yeah,
So, yeah, but that's all I have, y'all. We have 2 more minutes left. Guys, if you don't know how to, please turn your chat on. I don't see any chat coming through, but if you don't know how to
yeah.
turn your chat on, please look at the chat. And
I don't I don't see any questions either. But I want to leave with this though. Something that I saw on the internet today was there are politicians that are pushing for a bill called the Pivot Bill, PIOV, how it is, PIVOTT, where
pivot bill.
they are trying to push for scholarships or funding for cybersecurity companies so that they can, I guess, invest in more talent.
Okay.
There is a Senator McCall, who showed that he made a substantial, I guess I would say substantial from a senator salary point of view, $100,000 investment into Fortnite.
Mm,
Fortinet is also one of the biggest lobbyers in the cybersecurity space in Washington,
it's crazy, man.
along with Palo Alto Networks. So Palo Alto Networks was down 5% today. That dip got bought up fast,
Very quickly. Yep.
almost closed in the green. I think Fortnite was up also. So I've been very high on cybersecurity for a long time, but now that sector has my full attention because now
Yes.
we're starting to see politicians put money in that sector.
Yep. Yep.
So with that being said, I would keep an eye on Fortnite at FTNT and then Palo Alto
Mhm.
Networks PANW. So something could be brewing there in the cybersecurity space. And because Senator McCall sits on the cybersecurity committee,
Security. Yep. So,
so he had
they're putting money in there already.
so he already knows what's probably going to happen. And I don't
Yep.
think he would invest in Fortnite if he didn't think that something good was going to happen over the next couple of years.
Yep. Yep. I think long term, anyways, anybody, I mean, me just being in the healthcare world on the technology side, cybersecurity is a huge thing. It's a huge thing. It's a
Yeah.
must. It's a must. It's a must. You need to have some type of cybersecurity. There's no like if, but, or whatever. There's none of that stuff. Like you starting a healthcare company or you're a big hospital, you are getting audited. You need to have some type of cybersecurity in place. You know what I mean? The same way you need to have doors is the same way you gotta have cybersecurity in place. So it's becoming it has become a necessity. It's no
Oh yeah,
longer
it's
like a
definitely a
privilege.
necessity. Yeah,
Yep.
it's definitely a necessity. Definitely a
Yep.
necessity. So I still think that if there's one sector that will move hand in hand with the AI story, it's cybersecurity.
Yep. Yep. And
Yeah,
looking at FTNT, which is Fortnite thing, their market cap is only 85 billion. Let me see what is Palo Alto is. What is Palo Alto market cap?
Palo Alto might be a little bit over 100.
Palo Alto is 131 billion. My point is this: TSM hit $1 trillion market valuation, market cap, right? Apple's what, 3 trillion now or something like that. Those
3 trillion.
companies,
Yep.
those companies are the makers of those products. So I'm pretty sure like cybersecurity is kind of still it's still in the beginning stage of like having to get to that market cap. They need to get up there um, in the next maybe 5, 10 years. And with the advancement that we have in AI and quantum computing, possibly, yeah, we're definitely gonna need that, you know. And I'm gonna tell you guys like
And I
with
think
quantum
the 800
computing,
pound gorilla.
go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say I think the 800-pound gorilla that's in that space right now is CrowdStrike. Um,
Yes.
and CrowdStrike only has a market cap of about 111 billion.
They're still pretty low
I
compared
thought
to
they
where
were.
they need to be at.
I thought they were more. So they actually have a smaller market cap than Palo Alto Networks.
Also, yep.
Interesting.
But those are the top two that I really have in my portfolio. Is like the CrowdStrike, Palo Alto, and now that you mentioned FTAT, I might start looking into that too. But
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, there's a lot. There's the thing about that space that I'll be 100% honest with you is it's very crowded with a lot of different companies because you got
yeah,
Cloudflare, you got Fastly, you've got Datadog, you've got all these companies.
yep.
To me, I think you'll eventually start to see some consolidation with some of these
Consolidation.
smaller players
Mm-hmm.
because everybody's not gonna make it. Let's be honest with you, everybody's not gonna
Nope.
make it. So we'll see if companies like Palo Alto Networks and CrowdStrike actually grow through acquisition. It's
Right.
possible.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. D Dog is only 44 billion, so they're still down there, you know.
Yeah. So
So
Sentinel One is another one that's out there.
Signal one, yep.
There's a bunch. So um, I think long term, 5, 10 years down the road, cybersecurity and nuclear energy. Those are
Those would be
my
up.
top my top two growth sectors.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
I'm looking at the bug ETF. The bug ETF that has 23 holdings in it. It is up 13% year to date.
Nuts.
And the biggest positions in there are CrowdStrike, Fortnite, Checkpoint Software, Zscaler, Palo Alto Networks. You've got Okta, you've got CyberArk. Yeah, there's a bunch of these names out there. So,
Yep. Yep. And if you think about it, a lot of those companies are all doing the same stuff. So eventually they're gonna start buying each other out for solely the customers so they can gain more
mhm.
customers. That's all they're gonna be buying each other for. Because they all do the same stuff. Like they all monitor networks, they all give you alerts when something goes wrong. They all give you, I mean, a lot of them starting to integrate AI now into their dashboards and all these different things. So you can get even more accurate, analysis into your network or your software or all of that stuff. So yeah, it's just gotta keep an eye on those one, man. Cybersecurity is gonna be definitely a big thing.
Hold on real quick. I think my audio just went out.
Oh wow, somebody actually put a good rundown, gents. Damon D,
Okay.
say thank you, fellas, for the opportunity to tune during the week to hear the analysis of the market and opportunity to growth amidst the OKLO announcement. So I'm locked in every Wednesday and Friday. Hey man, OKLO's still early. Like we bought OKLO back when it was like $7, $5, $6, $7, we said this is gonna be like a 5 to 10 year run. You know what I mean? And boy, were we wrong. But I still think this is a 5 to 10 years. Even though with this cute crazy run we had, I still think it's a long term hold. We're glad we're making money off it right now, but it's a long term hold.
Yeah, so one of the things I will add with OKLO as I've done more research on it is that they don't plan to have a functional fusion reactor. I think it's called a fast fusion reactor until maybe 2027.
Yep.
So right now, a lot of the what's going on is still developmental stages. Still a lot of developmental stages.
Yep.
But because they have the backing of the government behind a lot of these projects, to me, um, I think that it has legs moving forward.
Yep.
And someone made a good point because there's also another company out there called SMR, which
Mm-hmm.
also plays in the small modular reactor space as well. But the technology is very, very different. Very different. Because I think the SMRs that the company is, they're called New Scale, New Scale, I think
New
it is.
Skilla, yep.
Their symbols, yeah, their symbol is SMR. Their
Yep.
reactors need to be close to a water source. OKLO has developed their types of reactors to be able to to deliver power in remote areas. So
Ooh.
think about where people are going to be building these data centers. Most of these data centers are going to be possibly in very remote areas where there's just land.
Yeah.
SMR, a new scalar, also their reactors also need to be on the grid. OKLO's reactors are off grid. They don't need to be on the main power grid.
Mm,
So if I have a bunch of land in rural Alabama that is nowhere near water and I want to build a data center there because land is cheap,
yep.
guess who I'm going to go to?
Yep. How close?
And
Yep.
I think OKLO says that their reactors don't need to be recharged until after 10 years because they can also reuse nuclear waste as energy.
There's energy. Hmm.
So the technology is pretty, I've been reading up on the technology a lot on the weekends, and the technology is pretty convincing. And if the government's behind it, it means that it works.
Hmm.
And again, these data center warehouses are probably going to be in rural areas where there's a lot of land and a lot of space.
Right.
So in order to deliver power to that area, someone like Oklo to me is going to have an advantage because of how their technology works compared to SMR. I'm not saying SMR doesn't have some sort of catalyst or any some sort of play in that space, but I would go with Oklo just based on who they can deliver power to,
Right.
um, based on location. Yeah.
And if you guys missed my rant from last week, from Monday, Wednesday, I was talking about having the nuclear energy running your house like a small. And I'm telling y'all, after they figure out how to contain those reactors, I'm telling you, that's gonna be the next thing. They're gonna be like, we can power your house, and you just have to buy this device from us. You know, you can
I
literally.
wouldn't be surprised if SMR starts to build plants that start to deliver power to the grid. That I would not be surprised about
See,
because I think what, again, nuclear energy, again, is considered clean. We want to, or people keep talking about, we don't want to be dependent on fossil fuels. Someone like SMR may be able to say, hey, we can decrease your carbon footprint by X with our technology and then
yep,
be able to deliver that nuclear power to the grid. That
yep.
I can see happening.
Yep, yep. Even if they do it for like 10%,
Yep,
20%, and after
yep,
over years just increase. The next thing you know is 50-50. You gain your 50% of your energy through nuclear, 50% to electricity. And then the next thing you know is like the odds just switch once they
yep,
figure out how to, improve it and stuff. So
yeah.
it's not far-fetched, man. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. You guys gonna be thinking about us later, like, oh shoot, these guys talked about it. We are way ahead of our time.
Yeah, we'll see. I would not be surprised in the next 5 or 6 years that we start to get a little bit more um dependent on nuclear. But from what I am seeing is that for the data center space, big money is behind nuclear energy now.
Yeah.
And we're starting to see the fruits of, companies like OKLO really start to move. So we'll have to see what they say on their earnings call because again, I don't know if they're making money, but if long as they're on schedule to deliver their technology on time, because I think the goal is 2027. We're in
Yeah.
2025. We got about 2 more years. I think as long as they're on track and it works, and
Hmm.
let's say to deliver their first reactor in 2027.
Yep, because all this move you're having right now, that's not an actual product.
No.
Everything is in design right now and it's
Hmm.
moving.
Yeah.
The one thing I'll keep an eye on is um I would say I'm about 80 to 90% sure that it's gonna drop after earnings, right? I'm just speculating here. I think it's gonna drop after earnings and then it's probably gonna get bought up real quick too. So I think that might be another opportunity coming up for if you want to buy it at a lower price. So we shall see. Or they might just announce some cool stuff and that stuff just goes off the, you know, cannon, shout out like a cannon,
Yeah.
and we
Like
all
maybe they
stay
get
there.
a big contract or they get some sort of
Right,
funding from somebody.
right.
I mean, we'll
So
see. But
keep
I'll
an eye
definitely
on
be on
that.
that earnings call for sure.
Yep. All right, y'all. With that being said, we appreciate you guys being here. I can see some comments coming into that. That was great, man. I appreciate you guys commenting. Thank you. I don't know how you said Niaski. Thank you, Damon. But if you guys have any other questions, you can reach us on here. You can leave comments on here. We can answer it. We also have our Instagram accounts if you guys want to reach us on there. Please, next time, share, share, share. Let's get more people in here.
Like and
And
subscribe. Is that what
yeah,
they
like
say
and
on
subscribe,
YouTube?
please. Let's get some more people in here. Let's find another OKLO type of move. We give you guys a lot of stuff from back in the day, so hopefully you guys are paying attention and all this stuff. Vale, any last minute question, man, before we close out? I mean, last minute insight before we close it out.
No, that's it for me, man. I think that pretty much covers everything.
All right. With that being said, peace, y'all. Have
All
a
right,
good
take care, everyone.
weekend.
Have a good